Hello everybody, in this video I will be playing the dual casting seasonal event. So, when we play a special card, a second copy will be played. Note that this only triggers once per turn, so you cannot use a Neuromancy to play 4 spells from your deck. To get the best results, we use a special heavy deck that is 13 units and 12 spells. So, let's have a look at the deck. So let's have a look at the deck we were using for this dual casting event. This deck is focused around swarming. That is to say, it creates numerous low power units and then boosts them all for big point slams. Now, swarm decks have an advantage in dual casting, as special cards provide so many opportunities for removal that units can easily be destroyed. But by swarming our opponent, we provide too many targets, or simply targets of too little value. My basic rule of thumb here is that a special card is worth 2 units thanks to dual casting. So we play with the minimum allowable units in our deck, that is 13, and when playing we will try not to play our units from our hand. Instead, we rely on cards like Neuromancy to tutor most of our units for us. This will allow us to keep tempo in the dual casting event. Whilst not strictly necessary to win, it will provide you with such an advantage over your opponent if they do not have this card, that your odds are much improved. And thanks to the dual casting effect, cards with the Echo keyword can be played up to 10 times throughout the match. Which is why we also want to use the Cursed Scroll as our stratagem. Now this will allow us to draw a card of our choice from our deck, and then put a card from our hand back into our deck. And with this card, we can ensure that we start with a Neuromancy in our hand if we're on blue coin. If we already have a Neuromancy, we will probably take the next most useful special card and mulligan a unit. We'll start by looking at our leader ability, Arachas Swarm, and this is the reason why the Arachas Swarm deck is so effective. Now, it allows us to spawn one drone 5 times throughout the match, but more significantly, whenever we play an organic card, it will spawn a drone along with it. And as this is dual casting, we expect to play many organic cards, and so each will add 2 bodies to our board. With swarm decks, we look to add as many bodies to our side as possible, and then boost them with a card like Bone Talisman. Now this will boost all units on our side of the board by 1. And with potentially 18 spaces on the board that we can fill, this could give us plus 36 points to our score. And our other big point slam option is Yennefer of Vengerberg. Now we have 2 options for playing her. In the front row, she will do 2 damage to all cards, and played in the ranged row, she will boost all other units on the field by 2. So the row she is played in will depend largely on which side of the field has more units. Because our deck will almost always have more units, we will always play her in the ranged row. Although in a mirror match, you can of course use Yen to destroy your opponent's swarm if you allow them to outpace you. Slightly less effective for boosting is the Arachas Behemoth. Now when deployed, it will spawn 2 more drones in its row, then boost all insectoids in that row. So you will be playing this card when you have 6 drones in one row, or 6 insectoids, to add the 2 more to fill the row, and then this will add 8 points to your score. Our final option for boosting is the Chimera. Now it can consume 1 allied unit, but we are more interested in its Adrenaline ability, which will then boost all copies of the consumed unit in that unit's row. Now this will allow us to consume a drone and then boost all other drones in that row by 1. So to get the best value, we look to completely fill a row with 9 drones, and then use Chimera to consume 1 and boost the rest. Whilst many of our cards are not going to be valuable targets for many special cards, this deck does offer a variety of offensive specials for dealing with our opponent's cards. Karathi Heatwave in particular is very powerful, as it can remove 2 of your opponent's cards for just 1 of yours, and it is cards like this that the Swarm deck is designed to work around. Note that Karathi Heatwave is not an organic card, so it will not spawn a drone when played. Aside from Heatwave, we also have Curse of Corruption for Tall Punish, and it will destroy the 2 highest power units on the field. Note that this can hit our own units, but because we're running many low power units, we expect to be able to avoid this and only hit our opponent. And also, like Heatwave, this is not an organic card. At the other end of the spectrum, we have Predatory Dive. Now this will destroy the 2 lowest units on both sides of the board. Since we run numerous 1 power units, and have a leader ability who can spawn 1 power units, the worst we expect to lose is a drone or 2. Now we will generally look to play this when our opponent has 2 units on the field, presuming they are worth destroying, so that we can ensure which targets are taken out. Most players we face will look to safeguard their valuable units from cards like Predatory Dive by playing weaker units as shields. So we will need to use a card like Parasite to remove those and leave their strong units vulnerable. Now this can take out 2 enemy units with 6 power or less, although we can also use it to boost our allies, although we will primarily use it in an offensive capacity. And finally, we have Manticore Venom. Now this card will deal 3 damage to 3 enemy units twice, so we can do up to 18 damage to our opponent, and will also spawn 2 drones to our board. Now this card is particularly effective at removing numerous enemies, destroying weaker enemies for dive, or acting as a useful counter to swarm decks by removing 6 bodies from your opponent's board. Another powerful organic card at our disposal is Crimson Curse. Now this will spawn 4 3-power Ikimara tokens on our side of the field, along with 2 drones because it's an organic card. And then we can hit both of our opponent's rows with Blood Moon for 5 turns. This will apply bleeding to a random enemy at the start of their turn, or if it's already bleeding, damage it by 2 instead. Now this card is incredibly effective at both offense and swarming. Our best swarming card, however, is Spontaneous Evolution. It can boost an allied unit by 4, and will gain an additional effect based on the unit targeted. We will almost certainly be using it to target an insectoid, most likely a drone, and that way it will give 8 boosts and put 8 bodies onto our field, because this is an organic card. And you may often want to use one of your leader charges to put a drone in both rows, so there is enough space for all the drones to spawn in. And all these organic cards can be treated through Whisperess. Now in most circumstances you are not looking to have units in your hand, but this will be one of the exceptions, as she will only trigger the dual casting effect on the organic cards you shooters if played from your hand, and not by being tutored through spells like Neuromancy. We also have the Wild Hunt Riders for deck thinning, and these will also add 2 bodies to our side. The Endrigger Ears, they have a Death Wish ability and will spawn 3 drones as they destroy. And Death Wish units are particularly useful here because our opponent may not wish to target them, only to trigger their ability. And as the eggs will turn 1 body into 3 bodies, by destroying it the opponent will be playing into our hands. I also use a pair of squirrels in this deck to deal with our opponent's Neuromancy. They should be kept in deck and double tutored with a Neuromancy if our opponent plays a Neuromancy themselves. I've already said how useful a Neuromancy is, so being able to remove it, taking a turn to remove it from our opponent's deck can be quite valuable for us. And lastly we have the Night Wraith. Now when deployed she will immediately spawn 2 rats along with her, and if she's destroyed she will spawn an additional 2 rats. So she immediately brings 3 bodies to the field, and if we can trigger her Death Wish, we'll also get 1 more. While our opponent might not want to destroy our Death Wish units, we can consume them ourselves with Were Rat. At the end of each turn, it will consume the unit to its right, and then you can use his order ability to reset his power the next turn and spawn a rat token for each point lost. This means he can eat an Endriga egg, spawning 3 drones in the process, and then in the following turn use his order ability to spawn 4 rats on top of that. This makes the were-rat an particularly effective swarming unit for us. Along with the were-rat, we also have Idder. Now these two should be used in conjunction because whenever were-rat consumes unit, Idder will spawn a drone in its row. Now, the biggest issue for swarming decks are cards like Manticore Venom or Lacerate, which hit multiple targets, but with Adrenaline 3 active, Idder can consume all tokens in its row and gain immunity, meaning your opponent can no longer target it. And this will bind all our points into one unit and reduce the effectiveness of anti-swarm cards, and because it has immunity, it will be difficult for your opponent to target. Overall, the Arachas Swarm deck is incredibly effective in dual casting, and is probably the strongest deck type in this mode. With its ability to combine rapid unit creation with powerful offensive cards, it can oppress the opponent while simultaneously growing in size. Many special cards will have little effect on these units, and your opponent will need to run several anti-swarm cards if they hope to stop your swarm, getting to a point where Yennefer or the Bone Talismans can provide huge point slams. So, let's see this deck in action.
My folk have suffered much.
The only good dwarf is a dead dwarf.
Your blood will warm my bones.
Good grief! You're worse than children!
We're all dressed up just for you.
Leave me be. You green horror!
I would bet my apple you'll not leave Brocklon, not alive at any rate. Come to me, little one.
Essaya Darien and Dogana.
Grow, my beauties. Reach high into the sky. The Valley of Flowers. There is no place more beautiful. The soil is fertile. Fertile with life and deadly wine. Reach high into the sky. Splendid crops this year, and ever they shall be. Leave it to me. The humans grow
name.
bold. We
I
must
don't
be
remember.
vigilant.
I don't care.
You will vanish! We shall cast you into oblivion! You have my thanks.
Kedmil Vanadane. Grow, my beauty. Reach high into the sky.
Illusion. You've yet to see what they can accomplish.
Yes, that would fit perfectly.
A wee hint. Dinna jiggle this.
Splendid maneuver. Squesma de Velo.
We bet there's far worse threats. You will vanish! We shall cast you into oblivion!
The moon, oh bright it shines.